God expects our conversion through love for others. While Jesus was speaking, a chief approached, bowed deeply before him, and said, "My daughter has just died, but come, lay your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus got up and followed him, along with his disciples. At this, a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the hem of her robe. She thought to herself, "If I can touch his robe, I will be healed." Jesus turned around and seeing her said, "Take courage, daughter, your faith has saved you." And the woman was healed from that moment. Arriving at the chief's house, Jesus saw the flute players and the crowd in uproar, and say, "Go away, for the girl is not dead, but she is sleeping." And they started making fun of him. When the crowd had parted, Jesus came in, took the girl by the hand, and she got up. This news spread throughout that region. In MT, we have the same information about a leader, but in MC and LC, there is the imposition of the name of this leader, Jairus, and that he was the head of a synagogue, according to LC, and one of the heads of the synagogue, according to LK. MC, another information is that according to the text of MT, the daughter of Jairus was already dead when he went to speak with Jesus. Already in MC and LC, she was already dying. MC and LC put the girl's death after the scene involving the hemorrhoid. In all these three texts, Jairus, making a gesture of total submission, begs Jesus to heal his daughter. In the way of the scenes takes place, a faith trust of Jairus is made explicit, who could see in Jesus the presence of the kingdom of God. Beyond any religious question, it was clear in Jairus that Jesus had power over nature and men. By begging for his daughter's release, Jairus demonstrated his trust in the liberating Messiah. To reach that conclusion, surely a tremendous Jewish barrier was being broken down. Add to that the crowd wanting to see and touch Jesus. Before the healing of Jairus' daughter takes place, another case is put on scene. A woman who had suffered from a hemorrhage for 12 years. She suffered at the hands of many doctors. She could only trust the one who passed by with the crowd. Surely she had heard of Jesus. Science is not always capable of everything. It is the biggest mistake for anyone to think that science answers all questions. It's even silly. That woman, unable to cure by science, faces the difficulty imposed by the crowd and touches Jesus. Her touch was not only a physical one, but also a supernatural one. She touched Jesus in a salvific way, through a gesture of total surrender. To Jesus' question, "Who touched me?" his disciples and the people responded rationally, in view of the tumult of people. Jesus, in turn, feels the touch of salvation, from whom he longs for total deliverance. The woman was healed physically and in her soul, and only faith was enough for her. Meanwhile, Jairus, anxious for his daughter's release, realizes how necessary it is to believe beyond human weakness. In MC and LC, he receives the news of his daughter's death, and therefore some question why he abuses Mastery more. She was already dead. What to do now? There is no more solution, for death is a fact. So thought those who broke the news to Jairus. Jesus, however, consoles him, saying, "Do not be afraid. It is enough to have faith." Jairus trusted Jesus' words and went with him to his house, a place where during the wake the rational domain reigned. They mocked Jesus by claiming that the girl was not dead but asleep. Interestingly, where the reason alone reigns, there's too much noise, shouting, because each one wants to be more right than the other. In addition, in the face of the total knowledge of Jesus, the ignorance of that people was placed, and the more ignorant, the more the honor of the truth, and the mocker of others. Jesus shows that all this is unnecessary. It is illusion, fantasy. The necessary no one was having there. Faith. Jairus fought everything he believed in to get closer to Jesus in order to free his 12-year-old daughter. He actually represents the need of all Israel. He represented in the 12 years of the girl to open themselves to the Messiah, to news of the presence of kingdom of God in Jesus Christ. The hemorrhoid, in turn, reminds us of the need for everyone, in any part of the world, to face any and all difficulties in order to reach Jesus, the only one capable of truly freeing men. Both Jairus and the hemorrhoids needed to take legitimate step on faith, to believe not in the miracle, but to meet what the miracle indicates, God. Both needed to move from a faith trust to a faith total adherence to God and His work. Such a passage is possible seeing the miracle of resurrection, which in this case is not the same thing as the resurrection of Christ, but already identifies it, including the presence of apostles Peter, James, and John, the same ones as of the Transfiguration.